Am I? Okay. Oh, that's me down there. Wow. Okay. Oh, I lost you.
Hi, love.
Hi. Yay!
Yeah, we did it.
Power of prayer.
Okay, is
Uh-oh.
it working?
It's frozen. Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah, it's
know.
working again.
I think it's
Uh-oh.
going to just take a moment to hold on. It might take a moment just to kind of come together.
But so are the people who've signed up, were they sent like a link or something?
Yeah, so just so you know, that now everyone that has the
The
link
link.
are able to see this and hear us right this second. You're so funny. So, because there's like 23 people
Okay, great.
already viewing.
Okay,
So
great.
whoever was able to sign up, they should be able to be seeing it now, which is pretty exciting. So hopefully everyone else will all be picking up very shortly.
Yeah, it's only 12:01.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just going to do one last thing is I'm just going to share it on Facebook. So if everyone who's listening right now is just waiting, thank you for being patient. We'll just get everyone here and on the call with us, and then we will begin. Sounds good,
sweet.
right?
Yeah, you're coming in nice and clear now.
Okay, that's so cool. How exciting is this? Let's see. My laptop's really, really tired. The poor thing.
I love the Vesica Pisces behind you
I
for your
know,
Mary
right?
Magdalene. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Okay, do you know what I think we should do, Megan? Is I don't even think we should worry about trying to get people on Facebook to know we're here because there's already 30 people arrived, so that's
Okay.
good.
Yep.
Hold on, let's see.
And we had hundreds respond.
Will be yeah, that's so cool. I've just put on the little Facebook message that we're on air now, and everyone can join us. Okay, cool. So
That
I'm
was
just
a
gonna
miracle that we figured it out.
like I really was like okay, Meggan Watterson, we are here. How cool is that?
Okay, why don't you begin us, love, with angel prayer? I really want an angel prayer from you.
You know, there was, and I've got my angel card, so maybe we can do like a
Oh, perfect.
we can do a little reading at the end, maybe for everyone who's here. But yeah,
Perfect.
a really great way just to kind of allow this session, this conversation, to be as loving as possible. It would be great just to invite in the angels and just have them cocoon us in a light and hold us in a space that feels safe. So, everyone that's here, thank you for just joining us and for being here. And we'll just close our eyes for a moment in a prayer of thanks and gratitude. And as we just close our eyes, the first thing that we're going to do is just remember something that we're grateful for. And as we focus on what we're grateful for, we just allow that energy of gratitude to elevate us in a way that takes us higher and higher and connects us to all things and all places and all beings. And as our energy elevates, we are able to more clearly connect with the angels as these beings of pure and utter love. And at this moment, we thank the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the higher beings, and anyone else that's here. Thank you for, first of all, bearing witness to this conversation, for bearing witness to this truth that we are going to share today, and for shining your golden, loving light upon each and every soul that passes through this conversation. Thank you for cocooning us in a space of safety that we can really deeply dive into the soul and listen to the voice of love that is within us all. Thank you, angels, for guiding us what to say, how to say it, and also for guiding us in ways that we can help each other. We recognize as we come together as equals today that a miracle is not a miracle unless it is shared. And in this moment, we set the intention that we are here to share miracles with each and every single person present. Thank you, angels, for hosting us, for holding us, for guiding us, and for helping Google Hangouts work. We are grateful to be here. And we say this for the highest good under the law of grace. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen. It started pouring as you were saying that prayer.
You're joking.
No,
it's like a heat wave in Scotland.
Downpour over here. So what I want to do is to take that energy that you've placed us into and allow us to do a soul voice meditation together, which will seat us all in the lotus position, or crisscross applesauce, as my son likes to say, within our own hearts. So let's take a deep breath and let's envision honey, sweet golden honey light descending from the 7th chakra down over the 6th, the crown of our head. And as it moves slowly over the surface of our skin, also imagine that golden light moving through the inside of us, scanning for any bits of negative thoughts or feelings or emotions, any aspects of our day that we're still attached to, that we're still thinking about, whether what we just did or what we are going to do after this call. Let's just allow the honey to, with its sticky substance, pick up everything that isn't this current moment, this right now. Allow the honey to descend both within and surrounding you. And imagine it moving down through your hips, over your legs, and out through the soles of your feet. Allow that honey light to connect you, to root you, as we go into this conversation, which is ultimately about our own relationship to what we hear within us. Now, I want us to all imagine that that golden light has also created an oval, an egg-like shape around us. And it's holding us in this container, this space, a sacred space, so that we can hear and receive everything that is in our highest. Now, as we take another deep breath, let's imagine descending into that space we call heart, which is actually a mystical sanctuary inside us. You can picture it however you want to, with red pillows, stark and austere, like a temple, or a quiet room by the ocean, however you want to see it. Just allow yourself to descend into your heart and know that always, at all times and in all places, you have this capacity, this direct access to the highest aspect of your being. And from in the heart, we'll set this intention that this call reveal powerful truths that we're all, as we've gathered here on this new moon, that we're all ready to hear and receive. Messages that are affirmations of what we know deep down to be true. And let's take one last breath as we surface to give gratitude for this chance to be together, this chance to be in this beloved human body, and this chance now as we open our eyes to see out with the eyes of the soul. You're so cute when you meditate. So peaceful. Feel good?
Feels good.
Good.
Excited. It's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important just to kind of, I mean, the coolest thing about this conversation is the fact that it's not really planned. You know, this was, you know, all about the surrendering and the acceptance and the kind of, instead of trying to take control, moving into
Listening.
And I think that is very much in tune with the divine feminine and also connecting with angels. But not only that, it's the time of the new moon, which is a phenomenal time to set up new intentions, to create, to envision, to manifest. And I think that also is a really exciting time, because one of the things that I've always learned is when one person is lighting up, they are doing phenomenal things, right? But when many people are doing it together, when they're in the same space, or when they're connected in the same telepathic way or connected to the same energy, when they all light up, that's when the miracles really start to take place.
Absolutely.
So
I feel like it's in the, I mean, I practice the soul voice meditation every day, but it's something so different when I'm able to practice it with other people. It's sort of like the way I've described it before is like, there's a slip and slide, you know, and do you have slip and slides in Scotland? You know, it's like that thing you go whoosh in the summer, like with the wet. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I'm meditating with other people, when we're all going within collectively, it's just the force of being able to go inward and the capacity to be able to hear is exponentially louder and faster when with others. And this one is the Gemini new moon. I read that it was about self-care, self-love, and setting those intentions.
Brilliant. So I was going to say something to you. I was going to ask you a question. I think this was a kind of thing that just kind of came up for me was, I think we're here to speak about angels and the goddess, but the goddess being the divine feminine, and it's that presence that has many names, many faces. But I would love to know what the divine feminine is to you. Like, what is that to you?
For me, I would say, well, I could, spend a weekend talking about what the divine feminine is to me. But I would say the core of my experience of the divine feminine is, we were speaking briefly about moving outside, external to us, that being sort of a masculine attribute. If we think of Shiva and Shakti, or Jesus and Mary Magdalene, let's take them for example. Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Jesus was very out there, very seen. He taught, and he's been very remembered. Mary Magdalene has not been remembered. She's been very hidden. She's been very forgotten, and her story even has been misunderstood. So her voice has been, in a way, internalized, right? A lot of women who have experienced, and men, I know a priest, a minister who has experienced direct sort of sense of transmission or communication with Mary Magdalene, and it's inward, it's internal. So for me, the most core response to what is the divine feminine to me. It's the other half of an attribute that we actually contain. So Jesus would be that aspect of us, the Christ consciousness that allows us to shine forth, that allows us to move out into the world from our highest place of truth and to act on it. So it's that masculine aspect of us. And then Mary Magdalene would be that divine feminine attribute, which we all contain, right? So rather than Jesus and Mary being two separate beings, we could understand them to be two aspects that is so important for us to manifest and really connect to within us, so that we are both connecting inward and hearing what the truth is, and then moving that truth forward out into the world. So the divine feminine is that aspect of us that allows us to listen inward and to trust it, to really believe in, because it's very subtle, it's very unassuming what we hear inside us, and it's very easy to doubt and to discount. We want those external validations, and we want that recognition and the sort of sense that something might be true and right. The divine feminine is about knowing something on your own. It's about having the kind of faith and love for what we're hearing within us, knowing that it's more than us, right? It's more than us. When it is the voice, I call it the soul voice, it's the highest aspect of who we are. So it's beyond the ego. It's beyond this one small life that we're living when we can connect to it. And the divine feminine is fiercely holding that truth within us, and believing it, even in the face of disbelief of other people not believing necessarily. The divine feminine is having that faith that's like steel, that can go through the dark, that can believe even through death. It's that capacity to go inward.
One of the things that I think is important to kind of share from a really kind of honest point of view is, whenever in previous times, until meeting you, I've always been I'll be really honest, I've always been obviously from a very psychic background and having a very spiritual experience from very early on, always connecting with angels, always, working on a mediumship level and even a healing level. That's always been something that's a deep interest to me. And then being like everyone interested in, I got interested in Mary Magdalene through not the Matrix, through the Da Vinci Code, and like this being a really important thing. Like, oh my God, why have I never even given her, a chance? Why have I never ever given goddess energy much time? And one of the things that and I'm being honest when I say this, that I thought was, whenever it came to the divine feminine, or whenever it came to understanding the presence of the divine feminine, I think my ignorance was that when we are interested in the divine feminine, we are trying to push out the masculine, or to ignore it completely, to become completely feminist, or to do all these things. And one of the things that I've really learned from your work especially is that the divine feminine is like equality. It's about full-on acceptance. It's the recognition that the external cannot exist without the internal, and they can't, they coexist, they work together, and through that kind of coming to understand that the divine feminine is not only in women but also in men. It's that part of us that we can stop having to be so macho and go and do, and more move into this space of, within me is the answer. It's not just with out there in the universe. It's not there
Exactly.
from the psychics, the angel cards, the crystals. That
Right.
within me, like the answer I seek, what I'm looking for, everything I need is actually waiting for me to arrive. And that
Right.
divine feminine is not only a presence, but it is permission. It's
Yeah.
that moment we're giving ourselves permission to turn the fuck up and listen, you know?
Yeah.
And like that was like the biggest red light bulb in my life. You know, it was like recognizing that the divine feminine is not about men and women and who's more powerful and who's not. It's
Mhm.
about recognizing the divinity in all beings and
Yes.
moving back into this surrender that, oh my God, I am more hooked in than I realized.
Yeah. It always gets me insanely excited. And whenever I'm teaching a workshop or a retreat, that reality of watching someone return to themselves, you said
Mm.
arrive. I love that. That uh, the soul is only waiting for us to arrive. I love that. Because that's my experience of it, is that as soon as there's a container, as soon as there's just a situation where someone can arrive within and actually hear all the answers that they're seeking, they have access to again. I mean, that's crazy if you think about it. Like that can we can go inward and receive what we need or hear what we need or find what we need. And the other image that you brought up of, you know, the red light or the divine feminine being this aspect of pure knowing, pure radiance, this aspect of a love that renders us all equal, this
Mm-hmm.
understanding that we are meant to see eye to eye, including or especially with angels. So, you know, a lot of people that I experience who talk about angels have this idea or this feeling of like, you know, the angels are, oh, you know, they're so way above us, or they're, yeah. And you know, we should heed what is told to us, or we should, you know, and that somehow we might be beneath, or you know, somehow less sacred or holy or whatever, spiritual than an angel. And my experience of the divine feminine is this understanding that we're all eye to eye, and that's the entire point, is that we're meant to understand that the masculine is as needed as the feminine. The angel is as needed as the animal. The mineral is as needed as the archangel. It's all, there's an absolutely intricate, beautiful, irreplaceable aspect to each living being, and that really what the divine feminine gives us access to is the worth of all beings. That's an intrinsic aspect of it, is the worth. Simply because they exist, you know, simply because someone exists, whether it's a human or an animal or an angel, there's a rendering, a love that is so powerful. It renders us all equal.
It's cool, right? Because I think through the understanding and the kind of the dabbling with divine feminine and the spiritual texts that come around with that is all about recognizing that in order to have a divine experience, we have to recognize our own divinity. In order
Right,
to see
right,
that which is holy, we have to see that we are holy.
right.
And I think that's the most amazing thing, because all the way through, like, for example, in the Bible, or from a lot of angel teachings through the last, you know, few hundred years, in particular, if you look at Rudolf Steiner's texts, or you look at the Bible, or you look at other great angel experts, they talk about angels as these phenomenal beings, and they are. And they talk about these beings as high vibrational
Right.
beings, you know, almost interstellar, from other galaxies, from far and beyond. And one of the things that always kind of made me unsure about that was like, you know, angels are for everyone. You know, we've all got angels. Angels are here. They're witnessing this conversation right now. And the biggest thing that I've seen or recognized is the angels are here. We generally are not. And so that's what the high vibrational stuff is all about. The high vibration isn't about, you know, moving up the steps of ascension and getting to another galaxy. It's about coming off of the steps of the ego and back into the cave of the heart. It's about, you know, it's not about going anywhere. It's not about achieving this bright, different colored aura or wearing a purple scarf. It's about like moving back, slowing down. It's about seeing that the angels are not out here, but they're more in there. And one of the things I started to do is when I learned your soul meditation, or, you know, like whenever I learned about that is when I started to go into the cave of my heart or into that temple of my heart, the angel would be waiting. Like they would be there, like, you know, like, where have you been? You know, like they are there. And that's the coolest thing about it. And that's where I started to see that in order for me to have a deeper connection with heaven, I needed to recognize that I was one of them. The angels are like our spiritual cousins. They are our spiritual ancestors. It is our divine right to know them. That is the truth. You know, we are supposed to know them, but we're not going to get them at some workshop. They're not going to be at the New Age store. They're going to be in our hearts.
Right.
And that is the cool thing.
You mentioned the alchemical dictum, as above, so below. Or at least I heard that. Did you say it? Sometimes
no, I didn't, but I get it.
I'm hearing things. So from Thunder Perfect Mind, which is the text that I read to when you and I first met. Well, when you first saw me on stage, and then we met.
When I had the soul orgasm.
It was from Thunder Perfect Mind, which is a text. Yeah. And one of my favorite verses, aside from the verse that I repeated that day in London, is this verse. It's in chapter 4. Since what is your inside is your outside, and what you see on the outside, you see revealed on the inside. So this text, Under Perfect Mind, is one of the oldest texts that we have of the voice of the divine feminine. And so much of the text is I am statements, which is something I know you and I are going to end up talking about and teaching on. But so the power of the I am statements, because that's just coming from within, right? So that's the energy, the radiance, being the lighthouse and having arrived from within. And I am statements just comes out and is speaking from the truth that's within. And this acknowledgement that what is our inside is our outside is this understanding that whatever we meet with within ourselves, we will then meet with outside of ourselves. And that there really is no external. There really only is ultimately this internal world, this connection that we have and can cultivate from within us. So there isn't this, I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like I didn't even go to church. And I feel like my exposure to angels, or to my understanding of the hierarchy, was that the angels were something that had to be reached, and that the angels would descend, you know, that they would somehow, you know, magically appear. And what ended up happening for me personally was a sense of, in cultivating this relationship, this inward relationship, really getting to know my internal terrain and becoming very intimate with this voice of truth inside me, what I began to experience was a sense of meeting with two angels in particular, but meeting with those angels from within me. not seeing them arrive, you know, with horns and gowns and all of that, which I was somewhat anticipating, like that if that encounter would happen, it would happen outside of me. And what has happened in my experience is that I have cultivated this capacity to go inward and to listen, and I've met with them from within me. And then there are ways in which they show up in the external world for me. There are ways that connection, that relationship is validated. You know, there are things that they whisper to me, or you know, conversations that we have that then gets affirmed from outside of me, but not the other way around.
I think what's important to kind of come up and share with that is because I came from the other side of the spectrum where I was having these angelic encounters from a
Where they came to you.
Where they came to me.
Right.
And so that's where like the kind of blip was in the system for me. Like that's where the blip was in the system, where I was like, wait a minute, because like, you know, one morning I remember waking up and, you know, getting ready for work and like waking up and looking at the side of my bed, and there's like this 6'5", you know, African-American man, you know, wearing chainmail at the side of my bed. And I'm like,
was that your guardian angel, the Obama looking one?
The Obama angel, right? And so I was like, I get so many people have given me a lot of like digs about that, saying there's no way your angel could look like Obama. And it's like, it just looks like him. It's not like he is him. Like, anyway, but I seen this presence, and I was in complete awe, you know, and overwhelmed by it. And so I think for a long time, having these clairvoyant experiences, I started to chase more of them. They're almost addictive. And then I came to this recognition that what I was seeing out there was just a projection of what was occurring within. And that was it. And so it is kind of like the Matrix, you know, like if you remember, like the first time Neo and Morpheus were having a fight, Neo was like shaking in his chair because he really believed it was real, you know. But if he was more in the acceptance that this was just an imaginary Matrix world, then maybe it wouldn't be experienced as physical as it is.
Right.
And so I think that it's not to discredit clairvoyant experiences, and it's not to discredit them or to take them away, because they do still occur. But
absolutely.
But sometimes it's much more reachable for others to recognize that it's actually within.
Right. The intention isn't to say that somehow, you know, if you do see something visual or something comes to you, like for example, that woman who, you know, saw the angel in that car crash, like that's real.
Right.
Like I believe she really saw that. That's real.
I know.
But what the power and importance of what's coming through right now is insane. There's no reason to wait. You don't have to wait for that encounter to happen.
This is like big, massive bells ringing for many people, Megan, because I have met so many people that are spiritually tired because they're trying to have an experience that is like someone else's.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Exactly.
And this is what I was saying, is the more I've learned what we're discussing now, the less need I've had for an external one.
Right, because you're meeting it from within you, and you're receiving.
It's almost like I don't have to work so hard or travel so far.
Right.
It's almost like I'm arriving to meet where it's already waiting. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. That gave me like I have to do a little jig.
I wonder, I just had a text from Holly Holden. I wonder if she's watching, because it's Oh no, this is so funny. She's asking me what archangel is good for numbers and tests.
Is she watching, or did she just randomly send you that?
She's just randomly sending me that.
That's perfect. Well, it's not random at all. It's perfect timing. Let's answer that. That's great. That's perfect.
Archangel Uriel is the angel for texts, or for tests, or for anything that's
challenging,
because he's all about bringing light. his name means God's light. So Uriel is to bring a light to the darkness. And so if we can't remember, we can't understand something, he is the torch of God's light.
So that brings up a really important connection between the divine feminine and angels that I wanted us to talk about as well, which is that so one of the first truths that I learned early on in this whole path of the divine feminine is that you have to ask. You have to ask for help. Like that there's an ethical code of being, and that you have to ask for that assistance. And I say have to, you know, like no rules apply in certain situations. Like, you know, there are definitely times when I know angels have appeared and have been incredibly loud to people who haven't asked for them to arrive. But what I'm saying is more towards the daily cultivation of this inner relationship. You know, so for example, Uriel, that it's that for so many of us, we don't realize how much spiritual support we have around us all the time. And that but the thing is for me is that asking becomes that bridge between where I am and where I really need to move to. And the asking for whatever reason, you know, going inward and asking for support, you know, praying, asking for some sort of guidance or some sort of word or some sort of reflection of what you already know to be really true. So there's something about becoming humble, right? Because asking means acknowledging that we don't know everything in every moment, and asking also, which I think is the most important aspect, it makes us humble and then it makes us vulnerable. And vulnerability is one of the most powerful states we can be in, because we remember again, right? To be the most powerful teacher, we have to just return back to being the student. So that energy can bring us back there, of that humility and that vulnerability to receive, and then we can receive again. We can hear.
I think that the asking thing is extremely powerful. I think it's a game changer, and I think it's also the recognition and the acceptance in the self that we don't have to do everything on our own. Exactly.
And that
we're not meant to. And so we live in this super duper independent world where everyone's fighting for their independence, even countries, right? And we're like needing to do it on our own, needing to stand on our own 2 feet. Right. And one of the things that I have, like, I say it all the time, and like independence for me is not a spiritual path. It's not, because I can never be on my own. It's like that time when Robert Holden was with you in Lodro saying you can never really be single.
Right. I loved that comment. That blew my heart doors open. I was like,
right? Like I was literally like, you know, like having convulsions, like, oh my God, he's got to me.
Robert does that.
You know, like, so, you know, that recognition that we never have to do anything on our own. And that's one of the great things about the connection with the angels. The angels become this divine face, this personality, this being that we can create a personal relationship, almost something or someone that we can know and like feel like we're supported. And I think that's one of the greatest things, especially for me as a traveling teacher and speaker, like constantly in flights or in hotels on my own or having dinner on my own, there comes a point where it can get a little bit like intense. And having that knowing that there's something else with me, like all every step of the way, it's just like can make me literally
cry.
Could make me whoa, you know, get to a really intense place, because there's something just pretty amazing just knowing every day you wake up that whether you see it or not, whether you feel it or not, there's this presence of love that's smiling to you, within you, around you, for you. And that's what angels are.
I love that. And I mean, for me, the spiritual trajectory, like the evolution that I find so many of us working on, is going from a place of codependence to a place of independence, like fierce independence. I've got to figure this out. I've got to be on my own. I've got to be in the wilderness, like in a hermitage all by myself and connect with God on my own and alone, and or I just have to trudge through this, without love, like, which a lot of people have kind of a martyr or this idea that we have to suffer in order to reach spiritual truths, which I don't believe in. But there's a lot, there's still a lot of that, like, oh, I need to go and sequester myself or be alone. So it moves from like codependence of just utterly believing that somebody else's truth is our own, to independence and needing to like fiercely be on our own, to a state of interdependence, which I think is one of the most important relationships that the angels taught me. Because I would say in my experience, that there was one part, I feel like, of my education in my relationship, or the maturing of my relationship with the angels. There was a time where I felt like I was becoming a bit dependent on what I heard and on feeling that honey love, feeling that eternal, a love you can't even describe, a love you can't even put words to. What I wasn't doing then, though, was allowing that love to just surface from within me and know that it is me. It is my own love. It is the radiance of my own soul. And so there was a time when, there was like, I really couldn't connect, and it frustrated me and it upset me until I understood, oh, this is so that I can access that from within me and have that as my own and become interdependent with them. So I'm relying on my own source of love from within me. But then, using our relationship for a sense of, we spoke about this before the call, a sense of validation, a sense of receiving from them what I already know to be true, what I've already mined, so a reflection of this diamond that I've already mined from within me. But maybe I need a little support in knowing, is this really my highest? Is this really, so a sense of validation. And that I felt like was my graduation, moving from codependence to independence to then interdependence, where I feel I am free. I'm not dependent on them for answers or for love or for truth. I'm in relation to them. And the highest relation is one in which, I receive support and I receive validation, but I'm not dependent on it.
I think you brought up a few cool points about angels that I think would be lovely to share. One of the things that when the honey-like love you discuss or share with the angels, one of the things that people do see is when we envision angels, or when we have a clairvoyant or like this internal vision of what an angel is like, and we see them as these phenomenal bundles of love, these beings of unconditional love. And one of the things I always like to say is, like, an angel is like a mirror. It's like a divine mirror. And the love that you see in the angel is actually your own presence, your own self being reflected back to you.
I love that.
The other ideas that kind of help me nourish the connection with the angels is the fact that whenever I'm feeling, having like a down day, like, because we all have them, right? We all have these moments where we're not completely hooked in as we would like to be. I think that's something that I always get clear about, is like, I do have bitchy days, and just because I do this doesn't mean they're never going to go away. But I've always known that having that connection has helped me recover quicker from whatever thing.
Right.
And so the idea that whenever I'm not feeling good about me, my angel is still looking at me and recognizing love. And one of my favorite kind of experiences with angels was one time, it was a winter's evening in my office in Glasgow, and this one woman managed to get a last minute appointment to see me, but she requested that I gave her Reiki rather than have a reading. And I remember she came to the office, and I remember calling in her angels, and the angels seen her is so well, is so healed, is so whole and so complete. And her story at that time was that she had a tumor in her brain, a tumor in her breast, a tumor in her, like, everywhere, and she was feeling broken and lost and completely in discomfort and just like at a point where she did not know what else to do.
Right.
And the idea that when I closed my eyes and held her hands and just prayed with her, that these beings of light, these angels, seen her as completely whole, as completely healed and completely complete, completely complete, like absolutely whole.
That she lacked nothing. There was nothing she actually needed.
And one of the things that I really love about that is when we have lost faith in ourselves or a situation, the angels will hold it for us until we come back. And that is so like, whoa, you know, like they'll hold guard of faith and hope. And, you know, that is explicit, like exquisite, you know?
So in terms of frequency or vibration, that just is resonating with me as so true. And it's also resonating as what so often you and I do for each other. I feel like we can hold space for the other,
right?
To remind us back to our highest truth, because the point of being human is to stray from that truth. It's the point. It's not a fault or a mistake, or it's the whole point of being human, is that we stray from that wholeness, or we stray from that memory of the love that is love, that is love, that is love. But there's such a sacred power in having people who are a sacred mirror to us, just to hold that frequency for us of what we know to be true, even if we've lost sight of it. In the same way that, you know, Mary Magdalene was there at the tomb in the dark, when everyone believed Jesus was dead, and she was there, like holding space for whatever was going to arrive. She was there. And that to me is that same energy of reflecting back our highest truth, of holding the vibration that we want, that we know we're going to return to at some point, you know, whether it's in a day or not till the end of our life. I mean, it doesn't really matter. In my experience, there's no judgment whatsoever of how long it takes us to return.
It's like, I think that's a really cool thing you're bringing up, is the angel is kind of like, my friend Josh calls it accountability partners. Like, for example, right? Or what, and Gabrielle Bernstein calls it spiritual running buddy. You know, like when you've got someone on the path with you. And I think it's important to have someone that you can check in with this stuff with, you know, like, okay, we can do it with our angels, we can do it with the voice of the divine feminine, but actually someone else that is in your life, of your vibration, in your tribe, you know, your people. Because one of the things that many people do, and I think this is important, and this will come up to what we spoke about earlier, that many people who have a spiritual connection or are receiving something sometimes don't know who to go to with that, and then that's where they find themselves in like a random psychic shop, or you know, paying $20 for the worst tarot reading of their life, or do you know what I mean? And I think it's sometimes the best psychics and clairvoyants are your family, or your own tribe.
your soul family. Yes,
you
absolutely.
Know? And so I think that's important to kind of bring up, is like, if you're receiving something from your angels and you're not so sure it feels right, it's good to go and check in with someone that knows you, that really loves you and is not going to hold judgment for you, and they become your earth angel, you know?
Exactly.
And that's where I think that our relationship has been really good, is like, I can email you when I'm having like a moment and you're like, yeah, tell me, you know, okay, love, as you usually say.
Yeah, I mean, so much happens to us, and we can fall back into that mode of victim, or that mode of like, you know, just feeling sorry, or there can be those moments which is going to happen and is human and is right. The people that we want to have on with us and around us, and the people who are going to be on the journey with us are the ones who remember us back to that voice inside of us, the one who redirect, hold space for us to hear again the soul, and just, you know, can obviously pat our back and still hug and hold and bring us tea, but who ultimately won't stay with us in that, won't continue to fan the flames of that energy, but instead hold the space of, yes, this was awful, and also here's how it was meant to be, or here's how, you know, and just allow us to move back into a place of empowerment and a place of understanding and knowing the way that we always can choose what's next for us, no matter what's happened to us.
I think this is a perfect time for us to talk about what we're doing soon, and also in the chat, I think I can click it to let people, you know,
can people ask questions?
Can people ask questions? Like, that is can you see this, or is it only you that can see that? Can you see that?
Yeah, I saw hello.
Hello. Oh, it's only you and me that can see the chat, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a bummer.
So we'll just ask each other questions.
It says questions enables, question and answers are disabled, because I felt like there might be some questions that people would like to ask with regards to what we just, you know, discussed, but it seems that is not an option.
Why don't we suggest that they can ask that on where you posted on your Facebook page? Can they ask it in the comments, and then you and I could answer after this call for the next 10 minutes? Yeah, we could try for the next little while, because there's a lot of people on there already. So one of the things I think is important just to share, that you don't have to have a special gift to know your angels. It's your divine right. The voice of the divine feminine is the voice that allows you to tap into the angels. Like, the divine feminine is the self, the part of you that gives permission for that angelic presence to be heard. I think that's my sharings on this. This is my reflections. Yes. And I would say that that trajectory of moving out of the body, or this idea, in order to become more spiritual, we have to be less human, is, for me, not a truth. Like, for me, it was the exact opposite. It was coming, as Kyle said, arriving, being fully here, which also means being fully human. That was, ironically, once I allowed myself just to be fully here, fully human, fully embodied, that was when I began to really hear the voice of the divine within me.
Love it. Love that.
And in terms of reveal and the retreat we're going to be leading together at Kripalu, so this is the first year where it's going to be men and women, which is in response also to the understanding that we mentioned that the divine feminine is something that exists both within women and men.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, for the first time, a 5-day retreat. So it's not just a weekend slumber party, which is basically what we did last year at Kripalu, and it was amazing. But this year we're going to do 5 days, so it's going to be able to be a much deeper dive of moving through the various stages of how we reach this place within us and how we cultivate this relationship to the soul voice and to our own guidance that's always around us in the form of angels or high vibrations and love beings. So the 7 chapters from my book Reveal, as we move through the week, what we do is we move through the various veils that allow us then to become embodied, that allow us to return, that allow us to arrive. And Kyle and I are going to be facilitating that trajectory, that spiritual. It's Mary Magdalene in the Gospel of Mary, there's many pages missing, but she refers to 7 stages. And it's my belief that there's a connection between the number 7 and the capacity for us to be able to reach the soul, and to really, the word that comes to mind is union. So it's a sense of becoming one with the soul, so that there isn't this ego and self over here and then the soul way over here. There's this sense of the two becoming one. So Kyle and I are going to facilitate over the course of those 5 days through amazing yoga, which Kyle will be leading, not me. I'll be laying back, like wobbly. Talk about some of the yoga that you're going to, I love the way you describe it, the hip and heart opening yoga.
Yeah, I think the whole time we're there, we'll be looking at hip openers, and I call it holy hips, which was a name that was kind of given to me by Christian Northrup, actually, when she has seen me doing the splits on Facebook one night. But I've recognized that the hips are also very much to do with the heart, because if the hips aren't open, people generally can't backbend very well, and backbending is all about revealing the heart and opening up this space here. So we'll be looking at gentle but yet quite fierce yoga that will help us really open up our hips and reveal the space within our hearts. And it's not going to be jumping around 100 miles an hour yoga. This is about strongholds, floor-based sequence that is completely empowering. So if you've never done this type of thing before, it's going to be completely a great place to start. And from day 1 to day 5, you'll see massive shifts in your flexibility, because the more you allow your heart to open through the internal work, the external postures will start to kind of complement that. So that's going to be cool. And we're having a dance party.
Yes. You're DJing.
Well, I'll be DJing, and I've got like loads of amazing like old school groove, soul, disco, and modern day Beyonce remixes that I will be mixing together for us to have a party. And I think oh, sorry.
No, we're going to have a fire ceremony as well.
Fire ceremony
on our last night.
With the archangels.
Yes.
And also I probably will be doing some angel readings and helping people tune in so they can give each other angelic guidance, which is something I like to have in my toolkit everywhere I go. Like knowing that if I'm in Whole Foods having a meltdown, that I can check in and ask for guidance. That's a first world problem, isn't it? So, I think it's going to be a spectacular week. And I think what's also going to really support it is the fact that we just love being together. Do you know what I mean? And so to do that with another group of people is going to be really fun.
Ooh, we learn so much just sitting next to each other. So I have no doubt that we have no idea how magical this is going to be. I do know that over the course of the week, the sort of the diamond or the intention of what we each leave with, the sort of nugget of gold, is going to be a sense of having married your own soul, a sense of really having committed and vowed and connected in a way to your soul that can't be unmade, that can't be undone. And
should have put a ring on it.
And that's what's going to happen. So for all of us.
So if anyone's interested in coming, we'll share this link to Kripala's retreat on my Facebook. It's from the 10th to the 15th of July. The tuition is $444. It's so low. We wanted to make it as affordable as possible for people. So we hope that you'll come and join us. And we are grateful to have shared this conversation together.
I love you.
And I love you. And hopefully we'll do some more of this. Okay, cool. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Meggan.
Thank you, love.
I'll see you soon, guys.